So first I wanted to take you through and just kind of show you some examples while we are waiting for 4:30 to come. This is a cicada that I made, but you can tell in the darkest darks, I'm going to go ahead and do a spoiler alert because my favorite dark tint is this Daniel Smith neutral tint. Okay, neutral tint. Hopefully y'all can see that. This is the best. I love it. I love it. It's right here. And I'm going to show you some other examples too. So into my sketchbook, I have used that Daniel Smith neutral tint on this little guy right here. I think it mixes really well with the blues. Honestly, it mixes well with any color. And as you look through this, truly you can't even tell that I've used a black or a neutral dark tint. It just goes seamlessly with all the other watercolor colors. I'm going to keep flipping through here. This is a great example on this one. I definitely did a light wash of the Daniel Smith tint in little light washes. I'm going to bring this down. In little light washes with the color to get those shadows underneath the glasses. And I think that turned out really well. And I can still appreciate all the pinks and purples and blues that are in there. All right. And then these are some of my birds that I do, these little bird circles. But this is the Daniel Smith neutral tint. And I wanted to show you this because you can really appreciate that you can see the colors underneath the birds. And it really does show through this neutral tint. Here's some more where they're just kind of mixed with some darker colors. So it actually still looks like purples and rust, but I did mix like the reds and the opera pink and whatnot with that neutral tint to get the darker stuff. Okay, just a few more. Here's some more chunky, darker birds with the neutral tint, and then a few more birds. So anyway, let's get to it. I'm going to make some swatches with just the blacks that I have on hand here. So I didn't go out and buy anything else because honestly, I've had so many sets of watercolors over the years. I actually have accumulated 7 different blacks. So I went ahead and swatched them out, but we're going to do it together also. Because I wanted y'all to see what they look like dry as opposed to wet. And which ones are more granulated and how smooth they are, that sort of stuff. But you can already appreciate right off the bat, some are more blue, some are more purple, one has a green tint, some are very ashy and chalky looking. So we're just going to get right to it and start with my favorite, like I've said, the Daniel Smith neutral tint. So the way I do my swatches is I get some water on the page, probably 2/3 up from where I'm going to paint the swatch. And then I'll go and get my color and start on the part that is dry. So I can actually load up the pigment pretty high up here. And then as this just happened, all I have to do is come down and start touching it. And it should bleed this way. Now, my water, I know I'm going to go through several different blacks, so I'm actually going to try to wipe on my cloth before I go in here and rinse my brush. I'm going to leave the water on my brush and just come back over here and just kind of touch on this line just to get it to bleed some more. But I can already appreciate this Daniel Smith neutral tint. To me, it has a tiny bit of a blue-purple tint, but as you will see in the next demonstration where I do all the colors, this really does so well letting the color underneath it or the color that it's mixed with show through. Okay, so we're going to move on. So Kuretake. I've got several Kuretake colors, and they come in these little half pans. You can see the rest of my palette over here. So let's see, number 68, okay, is blue gray deep. So we'll come over here and do this blue gray deep. Put some water on this real quick. Let that soak, and then I'm going to come over here and do 2/3 of my strip. Come back over here, load my brush. To me, this blue-gray deep, yeah, it totally shows the blue in it, absolutely. Especially when you thin it out like that. That looks a lot more blue than that. So I'm actually really glad we're looking at this dry versus wet, because this one actually does change, and you don't want to get any big surprises. So I actually recommend y'all doing this with the different blacks, different black tones that you have, just to explore, you know, how they behave, how they change, and then ultimately what they look like with color, over color. Okay, this other one is the Kuretake Black. Put some water in this one. Water 2/3 up. And y'all will notice I try to go quickly in my demonstrations because I don't want to bore you guys. I want to keep you guys interested in what I'm doing and interested in tuning in again. So I hope you find that helpful, that I'm trying to, you know, keep the pace up. But yeah, okay. So let's see. I'm going to wipe this off, chill that, and just kind of drop a little bit more water down here. So this Kuretake Black is extremely black, very dark. It's almost like an inky black or a lamp black. So it doesn't have a lot of undertones to it, in my opinion. I don't really see, you know, the greens like I see down here, or I don't really see the blues or the purples that I see in these other places. Okay, so next one, the Caron d'Ache. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's this little guy here. It's a Neocolor Aquarelle. So this is actually really neat. It's a crayon. So I'm just going to crayon up a square. And after I do the swatch, I can actually show you a piece of art that I've got this in that is super inky black. Okay, so I'm going to make this wet over here. And then for this one, because it's a crayon that needs to be activated, I'll get more water, and I'll just come in here and kind of start swirling around up here and getting all the corners. And then I'll touch it and make it bleed down. But it will behave exactly like a watercolor, the watercolor pans. Isn't that pretty how that does? Yeah. So it bleeds out really well. It does granulate slightly. You can see over here, you can see these lines coming down. So if you like that, and I don't know, do I really see an undertone color? I'm not sure that I do. Let's see. I'll put some more water and bring it up that way. Kind of got a lot on there. Okay. All right, in the meantime, the Derwent watercolor pencil, kind of the same thing. I'm going to make a square. So these watercolor pencils and this aquarelle, you know, you don't have to always put it on dry. Like if I wanted to, I could dip this in here, and then it would make these more solid lines. See that? And these lines don't skip. So let me try that with the aquarelle. Yeah, it takes a little bit more to get the aquarelle activated, but it does happen. So yeah, you've got a couple choices on how to use these crayons or pencils. So let's see, I'm going to put some water down here. Activate this. Now this is the one, honestly, it looks green to me. This has a green tone to it. I don't know if you guys see that or not, but that's how my brain is reading it, especially when that just bled out that way. Yeah, especially, okay, so compared to these other ones, absolutely, that is green, y'all, right? Okay. Okay, and finally the Vivia, or it's not finally, oh, I got one more over here. The Vivia sheet. I can't say it. So these guys, the color sheets. So these are actually really neato because they travel well. And they've got these little squares that are all loaded up fully with watercolor. So you just put a little drop of water and that is your palette. So this one's got one that's called Slate Black. Okay, I'm going to make my strip. And we'll activate this. Okay. Ooh, that one's nice and dark. Let's get a little more water on here. I don't want to get too much water on this because I don't want it to bleed out and over to these other pages. But that one is a pretty black. That one and this Kuretake black, those are probably the most intense ones. And I think that's why I like the Daniel Smith neutral tint so much, is I can actually control it more than I can control these other dark tints. You know, because when you want something and it's in the shadows, you don't necessarily want to grab for black because it can really mute out the colors that you have. Or it might just be way too dark. Like, man, this guy is really, really dark. And there might be situations where you want that. But I think if you were just going to add one type of black or one type of dark tint to your watercolor palette, y'all, I would add that Daniel Smith neutral tint. It is luscious. Okay, so one more, and this is just to show. This is a student grade, no name. I don't even know who's made it. Black in this palette. Okay, and I want to show you guys. So look over here. Like, look how chalky that looks. And look how gray and dusky. Like, you can tell there's so much fillers and not a lot of pigment to these paints because of the way they mix. So my point in showing you this is, if you find you don't like your watercolors because you can't mix the colors, or you don't understand how mixing colors go, it might just be due to the fact that you might have lower grade paints, which is great if you're starting out. But when you're wanting to nuance and get to some of these other colors, yeah, I would definitely upgrade a bit. So this student grade, very black at the top, awesome. But again, you can see this one is going to granulate. It's going to be chalky at the end. And when you mix it with stuff or try to go over things with it, this is what happens. It's just not ideal at all. Okay, so you can see the wet versus dry and what we've just done. So I'm excited to show you this next part. We're going to sit this up here. And I actually want to take you guys through, we'll do that right there. And, you know, I've got different blacks than you guys do, so just get out what you have. I encourage you to do this again. Like I said, so here are my stripes that I made, and we're going to take a bit of these different blacks and go across this whole thing. All right. Let's just start with this guy, this student grade, no name brand black, just because we're going to go backwards, and I want to. Okay. So I'm going to try to wipe the palette down in between each time because I need enough color to get through all these stripes. Now, I don't want to necessarily reactivate this paint as I pull through it. Okay. So, and I want to get just a wash of color to see how it will behave. Let me dab that. Oopsie. Okay. No name, student grade. Okay. A little darker. So I think I want a little bit more pigment. And I'm just kind of experimenting, but I do want to get down to the same like tint for all of them. You know, ratio of paint to water. That's looking pretty good. Okay. So that's a nice gray. And this is more to demonstrate, hey, I've got something in the shadows. I'll just use this color I've got, and why you might want to get something else. Okay, so I'm going to take the student grade one, and I'm just going to go. Little light. I could get some more pigment. Now this time I might go backwards. Okay. All right. So again, very granular. Very granular. Okay, and we're going to let that one dry. Student grade. Okay. All right, clean this out of here. Do y'all like my new palette I got? Isn't it cool? I'm so happy with it. I love that it's ceramic and not plastic. I'll show you what I just upgraded from. So this was the cover that came in my Kuretake set. I've been using it for years. You can see it's all bent out of shape. And yeah, I never wash it, but I thought I might do this for myself. So I've been having fun with that. Okay, so the next one, we said we were going to go backwards. So we're going to do the Viva. Viva, Viva. Get it back out. Viva, Viva. Okay. Big brush. Okay. Trying not to get tint already on there, but that little bit shouldn't matter. Okay. The black, look how blue that is. Wow. Looks blue to me. Okay. I'm going to give her a go. Okay. All right. Reload. Come back this way. I don't want to go over it too many times. And I also, I'm going kind of light, and this might not be the right way to experiment, but I guess we'll see. That's all bleeding together pretty well. Okay, let's do that one more time. There we go. Quick swipe. Hopefully the pigment will get on there. All right. That was Viva. 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 Okay. Next. Okay, the pencil. How am I going to deal with the pencil? Let's see. I guess just going to have to make some mud, I'm assuming. See, I've got this one here. That's what I need to be using for my clean water. Set myself up and I wasn't even using it. Okay. All right, so there's some water. There's my crayon. Oh, yeah, I can do that. It'll let me do it. Why not, right? Okay. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, very light. Like I need a lot more. Wow. So we'll just color on here a bit. And you can do this, right? Like with any pencil or anything that's in a stick form. Just get it wet and put it back on your palette so you can use it how you want to. It doesn't have to be a big thick line every time you get out your colored pencils. Okay. I'm kind of messy, but that happens. All right, here we go. That one's kind of green, and it is green over here too. Wow. Okay. Green. Okay. So as this is drying, you can kind of see on this student grade one, see how the pigment is just flat out sitting on top of that yellow, blocking it. If this were thicker, you wouldn't see any of the yellow back behind it, which we can go back and do thicker ones next to it, I guess, after this dries. Okay, that was, what was that? Derwent. That's the pencil. Okay. Now, the Caran d'Ache. Let me clean this off again. Okay. All right. So, Caron de Hache, color, color, color. And then I can just control what I want with the amount of water I put on this. Isn't that great? And suddenly that's in a form that I can use. Wow. Okay. One more swipe. All right. And that one was CARAND''ACHE. All right. Now, the Kuritakes. We're going to go blue, gray deep first. Clear this out. I keep forgetting. Isn't that easy? That's why it's fun. Like, these are great. This is your travel watercolors. You just need a palette to go with them, right? Then you can mix them any which way you want to. Any which way. All right. Get some water, blue, gray deep. How blue that is. Yeah. And sometimes, you want it different tinted colors. Ooh, blue. Okay. All right. See, these swipes I'm going to do darker swipes, I think, next to all these. Okay. Just for experiments. Okay, this is blue, gray, deep. Kuretake. Okay, then we're going to go black. Okay. Kuretake black. Right? Nope, that's 68 again. We don't want that. We don't want that. Okay, we want the regular black this time. Okay. This is the one. See how much darker that is? Yeah. All right, let's see. Yeah, okay. All right. Black is dark. Okay. And then the Daniel Smith neutral tint. My favorite. All right. All right. So a lot of this bled through. Okay. I definitely see how a lot of this color here is just pushed that way. It makes me want to go back and like drop color. So like here's our neutral. I want to drop color in little piles. That might be interesting, right? Okay, so after this video, I'm going to post this in the community section on my page because I think this might be good for everyone to see. Okay, this one, okay, that's Daniel Smith. Neutral tint. That one's black, Grande Ache black, Derwent pencil black, 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 black. Okay. All right, so let's go back to this Kuretake that's sitting here. Okay. Clean this up. We're going to go back and catch these others. I think this is going to be neat to look at. All right, I'm glad y'all are getting to see how and that was just kind of stream of consciousness. This kind of looked a little, muddled to me. So I think this might be a good demonstration. So Kuretake, let's do blue, gray, deep. Okay, and just drop little bits. And then Grande Ache. Okay, pencil. So truth be told, I've had these pencils like since grade school. Isn't that crazy? Almost as old as I am. Kind of enjoying seeing these all side by side on this white palette too. Okay, there's that. Now back to the Vivia. Vivia. Okay. Ooh, look. I might get some of that. Oh, I don't even have to wet, do I? Let's just do that, right? Oops. This one. All right. And then student grade. All right, now while that's drying, we're going to take a look at this stuff. So here are our initial ones. Okay, and then all of these. Now it's going to change as it sits here. However, I'm looking at how these colors are bleeding into each other and how they behave on top. This Kuretake black actually isn't too bad. I do really, again, like this neutral tint so much. The student grade just drug through these and is kind of muddy on top of them. This one, Vivia, man, I probably did too much water in retrospect. Got to practice these a little bit more, though they look good in between. So it's how it behaves. Look at that, how the Kuretake black kind of bled in from where it was. Happened in a couple places. Wow. So yeah, I hope this encouraged you to make some charts of your own, to experiment with whatever colors you have. Any of these are great, but as you work with your watercolors, you will soon see that there are different tones and different colors to different brands, and everyone is a little bit different, and then they're all going to mix a little bit differently too. So if your colors aren't bright enough, go for a different kind of black. Like even this Kuretake blue gray is kind of nice how it behaves on top of the colors. I kind of like that a lot. The Grande Ache is pretty dark. It's keeping a lot of the color and covering up. But when I want a dark color and I want a tint for shadows, this is the one that I like. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. There it is. There's my plug. I don't get anything for it. I just really like this color. So, all right. Cheers, you guys. I will see y'all next time. I'm going to do another live stream later this week. So I hope to see y'all then. Cheers.